My directions were easy enough to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of Numenon, Charlene's grandest collection of books and tomes. This building is actually only an entrance, one of many at that. For the archives of Numenon extend deep beneath the surface like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the great Google Library pale in comparison to Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Charlene is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of the shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Pistola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alze and Alphino will help me continue my research through the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Charlene history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study relevant publications. I promise you a working knowledge of these subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they found some promising tomes. Happy reading. Oh yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of floors. Hey, I found the first sightseeing log. And that's when I go, wha-bam. Why, thank you. Sightseeing log complete. That's only number 4. The title of Spine reads Story of Charlene. Read the book? Yes. Long, long ago, on an island on the Northern Sea, there lived a Rogadin man by the name of Yumkref. Yumkref was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperial realm. So it was that he built it. Okay. Oh, now I know where I recognize that name. That's that freaking ship from in Stormblood. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the oceans. It was there, however, that Yumkref's crew hauled them aboard his ark. But the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only a moment's to spare, Yumkref wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship safely atop Abalathea's spine. Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside them, but it was not long before disputes over the dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Yumkref gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers, abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast, where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island, settled upon the very spot. The settlement was prospered and grew, and in time and became the city of Charlene we live into this day. The title of Spine reads Rose of Old, the Colony. Many years ago, on the banks of the Thaliak in the Romanian hinterlands, a Charlene colony once thrived. This settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th Astral Era. Scholars dispatched to Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a glowing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Charleans. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Charlene colony. Eorzean residents took to calling the colony itself Charlene, which led to no small amount of confusion and discussion and when discussions turn to the subject of the motherland. In response, some Charlian inhabitants, if pressed for a name, would simply refer to it as Emporium. Following the Great Exodus, however, the goblins and treasure hunters claimed for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it another name, Idleshire. The other following chapters go on to introduce the most prominent features of Idleshire. This book does not appear to contain additional information in the forum or cover the history of the Charlian motherland in greater detail. Oh, so some of these books could just be useless, huh? Awesome. Time-worn tome. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon Yumkref, founder of the Charlian, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the northern empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Charlians took to the heart the words of their savior, and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from the strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came beautiful, bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be battered for wealth and coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Charlian would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the moon of war. The tools, sorry. See, I am definitely falling asleep now. They would eschew the tools of war, eschew or whatever, and with knowledge deliver the world. Ooh. The roots 40-20 Summers. Oh, see? I'm getting tired if I can't even recognize that says Forever 20 Summers. And my last name's Summers. My beloved seekers of knowledge, have you ever put learning before your health and neglected to feed and rest your body as you should? I too once engaged in such foolish practices, but one night, engrossed in philosophical study, I had an epiphany. For all the world's mysteries that drive us to reckless abandon, we have so very few years of life in which to achieve our goals. Thus do I share with you this mantra: I am forever 20 summers young. The number itself is unimportant, but you could be 19 or 23 or 40. Whatever age you are when you discover this manual, let that be the age you aspire to remain. Though through mindful, healthy living, will you extend the time available to spend upon your chosen research. Another day, another moon, another summer to grasp the greater truths you pursue. Anyway. In the pages that follow, we will explore the secrets of maintaining one's physical condition from a magical, etherical, and arcane viewpoint. This book is on the wrong subject. Search for works which contain details on the forum or mention the history of Charlian. An introduction to the heavens. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained therein? I speak not of shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond, of the sun and the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think the dome above us to be finite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar's depiction of a boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, the heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. There are few indeed who can explain, in satisfactory detail, why our own star is believed to revolve around the sun. Whew! It was the technologists of Alec who came closest to understanding the laws which govern the starry abyss. It was they who launched Dalamud and sought to expand beyond our earthbound existence. Having read of their ancient ambitions, yet I wonder, has your interest in this field of study waxed or waned? What if I were to tell you that the eternal constellations were arranged differently than in the distant past? That their positions continue to shift almost imperceptibly, but measurably as we journey into the future? Would it shock you to learn that all the stars drift further and further apart and may even address to go? What? Did I even say the thing right? Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart and may indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? Did I say that? I honestly don't know. So on the wrong subject, search for works which contain details on the forum and mention history. Oh, I gotta be careful of that. Is it this book? The Voice of a Growing City. In the years which followed the founding of Charlian, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The large number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays of vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the Sixth Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Charlian would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens who's from the establishment born. I lost my place. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of nationwide vote. Thus was the forum as we know it today conceived and created. You again gained the fundamental understanding of Charlian history and the foundation of the forum, and head outside to the rendezvous point and await your companions. Blech! Ooh. I'm definitely falling asleep. As soon as this quest is over, I'm gonna have to end the stream, guys. Because I don't think I can stomach actually staying awake anymore. Here's to hoping this is voiced. Sorry, were you waiting long? I wanted to make sure I'd borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphino and Krauss should be along shortly. I was delayed in similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mentioned the final day specifically, so we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if there are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to this state, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was always quite fond of reading outside. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphino and I were to return to Charlian, we were not to be allowed to cross the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the forum will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. And what of you, Graha? Have you been been to visit your family, or do they not live here in the city? Well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Charlene, yes, but I was born rather further away. In the southern reaches of Islabard. In fact, for generations my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite of the island of Thavnir. The Allegans founded a city in that fertile land, and by ship brought in the subjugated tribes, and the Mikote to serve as laborers. Whoa! Falling asleep! Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the sea solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvos braved the journey back to Orzia. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, and they might prevent the remnants of alien technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Guardian rule? For the past 50 years, yes, some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Amonis. That's so really close to freaking the meme of Among Us. Among Us. I feel like that was also said somewhere before, but I can't recall. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Darnus demonstrated a single interest in Allegan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allegan Eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliable as they once had. For fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Alleg. Or Alag. Yeah. As the last child born with Allegan Eye, I was given over the custody of the friends and the students of Baldician, who had me registered as a Charlene citizen. I was glad I ever the custody. Okay. I never even considered, forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thrankard was taken in by the Archon Louisois, was he not? Stories of adopted waifs, and rescued orphans are more common along Charlians than you might think. Yet regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and when sufficient perspicacity, I don't know. We outsiders even learned the vaunted title of Archon. This is exactly why I have such a love for this country, and why I wish to remain a nation of it, which is citizens can be proud. Here, another good reason to get to the bottom of the forum's stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make some headway into these books, Firemac. More company should be arriving any moment now. Oh my god. All that talking and we're not even done. I just want to end the quest now. We've returned with our selections. Although I must say the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mr. Kyle has already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters, and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the Umbral Calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few things related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarat firsthand, and I fear I may be overlooking critical details. Don't worry, we shall tell you everything. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomena did the ancients encounter as the final days drew nigh? A complete devastation of creation magics, Primal's unraveled power were summoned from the ether, the worst kind of phenomena you can imagine. I'm gonna go with the first one because I think that's accurate. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wrought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Yostola surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Asians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? A keening sound from the land itself. The entire star was engulfed in disaster all at once. Yeah, that one. I think you may be misremembering. As I recall, it was more of a gradual spread. I mean, I guess. That's just... I'm tired, okay, Alphino? If you haven't heard, I'm freaking tired and I'm trying to end this quest and I'm trying to go to sleep. Whatever, Alphino. The Amarotines of a keening sound that rose from the land itself just before a region was visited by a catastrophe. We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. So there was a wrong answer, I just didn't realize it. So the grind was crying out, you say, to be considered the harbinger of doom. We must have been quite distinctive. And probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with one of Numenon's mammoths and ask after any books which make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take to summon Zodiac? To knock Delman from the sky. They summoned Heidelin? Yes, the Asians were all for Heidelin. Yes, a little bit serving as his heart. So many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiac brought the salvation to the star, only that his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Okay. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render onto Zodiac. A trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render onto Zodiac. A trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades. Okay. Just making sure I read that right. Or it might have had Vana and her fellows not manifested their opposition in the form of Heidelin. Yeah, Vana. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With With all that freshly in mind, does it make you wonder what the Telophoroi truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days? We've seen what they're doing with those towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech? A convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash. This is all just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye out for Yustola, and 'tis time we began studying these research papers. Because of course Yustola is going to have the good stuff. Alright, Yustola. Come on, Yustola. Yustola! 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 I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended research of the Archon stacks produce one or two possibly useful books. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Uranger learned of the source's reflections from the Garoon oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, that tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the Great Google Library. 'Tis even less likely that knowledge of unsundered the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on the shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet, when confronted, Master Folchano, the knowledge of the Telophoroi and their machinations, and the knowledge of yet when you confronted Master Folchano, and with the knowledge of the Telophoroi and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know if the final days were truly upon us, which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from the reading duty. Whether they contain the mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. Oh no. No! No more work! Please, Yustola, have mercy! This quest has gone on long enough. You labor for what feels like an age as Yustola's research assistant. I wouldn't mind. For Yustola? You gotta say Yustola. Thank you for your help, but I think I can manage the rest without your assistance. If I were you, I'd steal a few quiet moments for myself. I found not of interest so far. I think Yustola might be right about, but not getting our hopes up. Your efforts to gain Grauha's attention go unnoticed. He appears to be lost in his reading. She is not having any of it. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a Mamet at the reference deck will point you in the right direction. For a moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Amazing! So, I think I'm going to use that as a stopping point. One, I'm getting too tired. My sleep schedule's a little out of whack because I stayed up a little too long the day that Early Access started. You know, to record the rest of my story recap. And I also just kind of want to focus on other things that are not the main quest line right now. And yeah, I just want to take this slow. I kind of need the break. Too much story. But when we come back, we'll jump into this, and I think I'll have a better idea of how I'm going to tackle the story stuff. But for now, this is Firemac saying, Doodles, see you next time.